All my days in the business, I always, of course, I grew up watching that specific promotion, knew who Paul Boesch was. Of course, IW Marks, one of their big sponsors. And but I always heard throughout my years in the business that Paul Boesch was such a great payoff guy. So I want to ask you some questions. And to all my listeners that are or were enlisted in the United States Armed Forces, Paul Boesch, the promoter of Houston Wrestling, who bought the territory from Morris Siegel. He bought it from Morris Siegel's widow when Morris died. And Paul had been wrestling for many years, had a car wreck in, I think, 1947. And then, it was kind of like a layup to buy this territory from Morris Siegel's widow. And Paul Boesch served in the U.S. Army during World War II. He received a Purple Heart, a Silver Star and Cluster, a Bronze Star and Cluster, a French Croix de Guerre with star, whatever that is. I'm sorry about the pronunciation. A Combat Infantryman's Badge, Distinguished Unit Citation, and a Distinguished Citizens Award from the 121st Infantry Association. Bruce, with this military background, this decorated World War II veteran, what kind of cat was this guy to deal with amongst all the shenanigans and hijinks of the boys?
Well, Paul could be one of the boys sometimes, but sometimes he was Paul. And Paul was probably, I think if you were to go back in history, one of the most respected promoters.
Yep.
And like I say, he was a great payoff guy, but Paul also commanded the respect of the boys, of the promoters, of the bookers, of the other offices around the country. When I say he owned the town, he owned the town.
Right.
I mean, he was at all the charity events, man. It seemed like every 3 years it was Paul Boesch Day in Houston, Texas. And, he had his vices. It wasn't drinking drugs and all those things, but Paul had his vices.
Right.
And he lived his life the way that, he wanted to live his life. And he understood, the boys. He wasn't big on the drugs and the alcohol. Didn't condone it. But I don't think that he also really ever understood it either.